My high school sweetheart left me to have fun at college and is now furious I won't take her back. Back in high school, Hannah and I clicked right from the start. It wasn't anything dramatic, really. We just found ourselves together a lot, sitting next to each other in classes without even planning it, ending up partners for projects. It was easy, comfortable. People started seeing us as a unit before we even got around to seeing it ourselves. By junior year, it was official, we were Gavin and Hannah, inseparable. Life was pretty straightforward then. School, homework, hanging out. I wanted to go into engineering. Hannah was all about graphic design. We'd talk about the future as if it were a given. College was part of the plan, but in a vague, distant sort of way. The kind of future talk that feels safe because it's all hypothetical. But then, senior year rolled around, and suddenly, college wasn't just a distant idea. It was happening. Hannah got accepted to her dream school, a big-name place, miles away from our small-town life. I was happy for her, really happy. But it was the first time I felt a crack in the solid thing we had. She was leaving, and I was staying, going to a local college. We promised each other it wouldn't change anything. Promises are easy when you don't want to face the reality. A few months into her freshman year, Hannah came back home for a visit. I was excited to see her, expecting it to be like old times. But she was different. Not in a bad way, just more grown up, I guess. And then she dropped it on me, the open relationship thing. She said it calmly, like she was just stating a fact. There was no discussion, no asking how I felt about it. She'd made up her mind. She wanted to have fun in college without the ties of our relationship holding her back. She even talked about it being safe, for our future together. I remember feeling like the ground had been pulled from under my feet. I didn't understand. We had been everything to each other. First loves, first real relationship, and then, out of nowhere, this. I couldn't just nod and agree. It went against everything I felt about us. I tried to explain that. I tried to argue, to make her see how much this would hurt me, how much it was asking of me to wait for her while she went off with other guys. But she didn't budge. She said I was being immature, that I'd get over it and we could talk when I was ready to be rational. Those weeks after she went back to college were some of the longest of my life. I kept replaying our conversation, wondering if I'd been too emotional, if there was a way to be okay with it. Then, when she called 2 weeks later acting as if nothing was wrong, as if our entire conversation hadn't shattered my world, and casually mentioned she had already been with other guys, I broke down. It was a deep, raw kind of pain I had never experienced before. I told her it was over, that I couldn't do this. She accused me of being immature again, but I knew I couldn't go through with her plan. It wasn't just about being with other people, it was about respect, trust, and how she so easily disregarded my feelings. That was the last real conversation we had for a long time. She tried to contact me after that, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. It hurt too much. I had to move on, had to try and put myself back together without her. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Moving on wasn't easy. I threw myself into work in college. I picked up extra shifts at the job and took on more classes than I probably should have. It was my way of keeping busy, to avoid thinking about her. My social life took a hit. Initially, I avoided going out, especially to places where I knew I'd run into mutual friends. The thought of having to talk about the breakup or, worse, run into her, was something I couldn't handle. Slowly, though, I started reconnecting with old friends, the ones who knew me before Hannah. It was refreshing to be around people who didn't see me as one half of a pair. They got me out of the house, made me laugh, and helped me feel a bit more like myself again. I won't lie and say I didn't think about Hannah. I did, a lot at first. But as time went on, those thoughts became less frequent. I started to see the breakup not as the end of something but as the start of something new for me. It was a tough lesson in love and life, but it taught me a lot about myself, about what I want from life and from a partner. 3 years passed quickly. I graduated from college, got a decent job, and even moved into a small apartment. Life was good, stable, and Hannah became a distant memory, a part of my past that helped shape who I am but no longer held any power over my present. One evening, I was at home doing the usual after-work routine. I had just finished eating dinner, a simple meal I cooked myself, and was considering what to do next. Maybe watch some TV, or catch up on some reading. Then, out of nowhere, the doorbell rang. It was around 7 p.m. I wasn't expecting any deliveries, and my friends usually text before dropping by. I walked to the door, flipping the porch light on as I went. Peering through the peephole, my heart skipped a beat. It was Hannah, standing there as if the last 3 years hadn't happened, as if we hadn't ended things on a note that still made my chest tight when I thought about it too much. Seeing her there was like being thrown back in time. Hannah, with her casual stance, looking expectantly at the door, probably imagining a different kind of reunion. One where I'd throw the door open with a smile, happy to see her. But that wasn't going to happen. I remember standing there for a moment, frozen, not sure what to do. Part of me wanted to ignore the doorbell, pretend I wasn't home, and just let her leave. But another part, the part that had spent years with her, felt like I owed it to both of us to face this. So, I took a deep breath, unlocked the door, and opened it, but I didn't step out or invite her in. I just stood there, looking at her, waiting for her to say something, to explain why she was there after all this time. The look on her face told me she hadn't expected this kind of reception. She seemed taken aback, maybe even a bit hurt, but there was also a hint of the same confidence that had driven her to make the choices she did back in college. It was clear she had rehearsed this moment in her mind, expecting a warmer welcome, expecting that enough time had passed for old wounds to heal, or at least be forgotten. There wasn't much to say, not really. I was still processing the shock of seeing her, and maybe she was too, in her way. She said she wanted to talk about us. My first reaction was confusion. Us?